Hello, welcome back. This is part two of a headache series of videos. So if you have not seen part one, may I suggest that you go back. The video will be in the description. So go back and watch video number one. Now, video number one is the basics, very simple of what is a headache, basically types of headaches, but all based on my experience. So it's not going to cover all kinds of headaches or all types of headaches. That would be a subject too broad for me to cover, honestly. It talks about what are the steps once you feel that you have a headache that is repeated. In other words, once we get into headache chronic pain, then who to see, what types of, what are the steps to follow, what happens once you see the doctor, so what are the tests, somewhat, treatments, and eventually it does get into what this video will be about, which are what's going to be happening or how you can escalate into some possible treatment solutions. As far as I know, there are two institution type of places that you can visit for resolution of your chronic headache pain. The first one is called a pain clinic. The second one is sometimes called headache center. They go by different names, right? But the big difference between one and the other, just so we're very clear, and this is the first part of this video, is one is a day center. In other words, a pain center. And this is not a palliative care, so we're gonna also be talking about that. But a pain center is a specialized, pain clinic. A pain clinic is a specialized clinic where you go for relief of your pain, right? But you only go, you have a visit, you have treatment, and you go home. There is no hospitalization, even though they usually are part of major hospitals. Now, a headache center, and again, like I said, many times they're called by their own name, so they're not always called headache centers. The ones I know are also usually part of hospitals, but they have FDA approval to treat you and hospitalize you, especially for treatment of headache pain. In other words, this is not you go into the ER and they give you a I want to say quick treatment of pain, because even though you're there for several hours, you get treated for pain. Or you go into the ER and they actually do some tests. For example, like if you had IIH, which is, this is my background, idiopathic intracranial hypertension. They do some tests like a lumbar puncture or a CAT scan or MRI for diagnosing. This is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, and this will be the third video, is it's an actual center where you get hospitalized and intravenously, usually with a PICC line, they treat your headache pain. So you go into the hospital and they are FDA approved to give you medication, usually for 3, 4, 5 days until your headache pain has stopped. Your cycle of pain has been broken. Then you go home. And supposedly, they continue that same medication except with outside medicine. not intravenously, obviously. We'll talk more about that on video number 3. So let's go back to what is a pain clinic. Most major hospitals in the United States, I do know several in Europe. I'm sorry to say I do not know. I do know of a couple in Asia. I don't know in other parts of the world. I'm sorry to say, but please comment if you do know. So help me out. For example, I do not know if this is happening in Australia. There are, as part of the hospital, there are departments opened that are just for the treatment of pain. Usually it is a very well-known neurologist that has opened a section of the department of the hospital to treat pain. And they are, like I said, very well known. They have usually the hierarchy is some very well-known neurologist has opened the clinic. They have neurologists that worked for him, and then they have residents that work underneath, and it is usually very research based, meaning a lot of this is in university hospitals. So they train future neurologists for the treatment of pain. In my experience, I have gone to a couple of them that specialize in the treatment of headache, and they focus, first of all, they ask for, just so you know, they ask for all your background information, but just so you know, they focus on your target headache. So if you come in with, in my own experience has been, for example, occipital pain. I'll give you that as an example. So they will target this one type of headache, and they will treat that one type of headache. And because I have several types of headaches, they went at each one separately. So they will treat occipital neuralgia in my case. Then they would they have been treating cluster headaches, and then in my case, there was the whole talk about, okay, well, you have IIH. We don't treat IIH as in the pain. You have to fix your shunt, and there was a lot of back and forth. If you want me to discuss that, please let me know in the comment, and I will be very specific about my own particular situation. That's not the aim of this video, but I can, if you want, get very specific about what actually happened to me. It was, well, to me, it was a very interesting situation, but of course it's my life. So of course it's going to be interesting. I laugh because I have been dealing with idiopathic intracranial hypertension, just so you know, for almost 35 years, 34 years, 35 years. So I've had almost all the sort of the facets of IIH happen. So if there's something in particular you want to discuss, please comment, because I'm more than willing. I'm an open book. I'm more than willing to discuss it, you know. It's just, I also want to get out just information for those of you that want something like quick right now, right? And are just, you know, suffering from headaches. So what is the, let me tell you what is the protocol to get to a pain clinic. And the last video we left it as you have gone from your primary doctor to a neurologist that specializes in headaches, right? Basically. Next step. Now you are either referred to, or you actually pick up the phone because you hear of one of the pain centers and you make an appointment. You can do either, actually. Depending on your insurance, all right? Or if you have the money, go ahead, because they do take cash. In the United States, you are lucky enough that actually throughout the world. I have gone to one place in one other country where I just took out my credit card because they were, shall we say, inexpensive enough. So honestly, if you have the cash, go for it. But you can just pick up the phone and make an appointment. Okay. Either or, they 9 times out of 10 are going to want your background information. This is my IH getting in. I cannot remember things. Anyway, usually words, but they just slip out. They just don't, or I should say they don't slip, but they're in there and I cannot fetch them. It's so annoying. I bet this happens to you. Anyway, so we're gonna go on. Anyway, yes. So my Spanish comes out once in a while. We go on. So you send them your background information, your medical information. That's it. Your medical stuff. Suggestion is that as much as possible, this is not easy to do, but you keep your medical records. You ask for them. Yes, you have to pay for them. So whenever you go to a hospital or a center, you ask for your medical records and things like that. Also, they usually ask for your last test, either your MRI of the head or your last CAT scan of the head. And then you sort of just wait for the next appointment. It's best if you have a neurologist in mind. In other words, yes, you can just call the center and get the next available neurologist and go. Nothing wrong with this. But if you know of a neurologist that's really good in the center, in the pain clinic, it's best to go to that one. So if you can get a name, a referral from your doctor or hearsay. See who other people really like. There's usually someone who is, what I mean by better is better for what you have, right? Usually doctors specialize in something. Look at their resume. Their bio is always online. So look at the one that has treated your condition. If you're going in for cluster headaches, see if it's mentioned in their bio, because that's going to help, right? These pain clinics have rooms that are basically mini ORs. So for example, when I went in for my occipital neuralgia pain, several times I had treatment in their OR. So I had my occipital neuralgia was frozen. I had several nerve blocks, quite a few actually. It was burned, so that's what it's called, because the nerve, so there was quite a bit of treatment done. Unfortunately, it was not successful. It didn't last. But that's a lot of what they do. So they actually do have sort of like mini ORs. And that's what separates them from a normal neurologist. They have more specialized treatment, and they have the ability to bigger equipment, shall we say, more specialized equipment, more and also more research, more sorry, I'm getting tired. More equipment. They also get more grants. They also usually get together as a group, meaning this hierarchy. So the top neurologist who set up the clinic with all the neurologists, with the residents in the clinic, they usually get together once a week and discuss the patients that are coming in. Not all of them, but they rotate them. So you will probably be discussed, which is always a plus, because you are being overseen by the entire group and ideas are being thrown about. This is a great thing about a pain clinic. The other thing is You go to a pain clinic usually to one neurologist, and even though they're being overseen by many, it's not so easy to move around among the neurologists within. I have done that, but you do have to ask for permission. You have to sort of say, you know, Dr. So-and-so, can I move to Dr. So-and-so, right? That is the big deal about a pain clinic, right? So you are dealing with sort of like mini ORs, much more treatment or many more treatments available. It's overseen usually by a bigger institution. There's much more research available. They have, more funding available, and you feel much more arropado, taken, nurtured, right? So if you go into an institution like this, you can feel more brave to say, look, this works and this doesn't work, right? I don't know if this has happened to you. I don't know if this has been your experience, but with sort of like the average neurologist, sometimes it's hard to say, I know you gave me this medication. It was like taking water. I didn't feel a thing. And sometimes the neurologists would say, oh, come on, it's a strong medication. How could you feel nothing, all right? I don't know if this has been your experience. This has been my experience. When you get to the level of a pain clinic, they've heard it all. They truly have heard it all. So you can be much more honest and direct. And they expect you to advocate for yourself. Now, I'm not saying get mad, get aggressive. I'm not saying, this is, say, this did nothing. No. But there is a much more comfortable level of they understand that each patient it's their own world, right? So you can be more comfortable to say, this didn't work for me. Is there something that I am doing wrong? Did I not take it correctly? Or perhaps do I need to try it for longer? So that's a polite way of saying it, which is what I usually try. And then say, or is there something else I can try? And then you're opening the door for them to say, there's something new. Or try it one more month. I'll see you in a month, but email us or call us, and we will we'll keep in touch. And I'm thinking about something else that you may want to try. Is usually the reaction I get in a pain clinic like this. Okay. So before we go, I'm gonna be video number 3 is the headache centers. With the pain clinic, what ended up happening was I ended up with the headache at the last one I was with the headache. The founder of the clinic, the big Hancho, and he basically said, look, we have reached, you are the cutting edge. We have reached the end of the line. I kept seeing him. He was wonderful. I would recommend the clinic in a heartbeat. But he did say, this is the end of the line. You are the cutting edge of medicine. He said, I could try this, would try that, but I wouldn't try this. He very honest, very forthcoming, very polite, very knowledgeable. And so my next step was to try a headache center, which I did not even know they existed. So my next video is to talk about these places that are, and I've only been to one, but I've heard of other ones, where you have an appointment, you are evaluated. They're not easy to get into, meaning that there is a long wait. And you are evaluated very carefully. And if you fit the profile, then you get hospitalized. You actually are hospitalized for treatment, headache treatment. So I will see you on part 3 of this headache series. videos. Please comment if you have questions, if there's something that I missed and you really want to know, you're burning to know, or if there's something you know that you would like to add to this. Please know that I am purposely not getting into what medications I've tried. I don't want to influence you. I am not a doctor. My big joke, I don't even play one on TV, which I know is very bad. I don't want to influence you in what medications to try. This is not my role. I'm not here to play that. I can put on my website, which is on the description, a list of medications I've tried if that's what you wish me to do. But I am not here for you to try medications that I have tried. This is not productive. You need to find your own place in this. What I want to do is to show you what's available, what steps you may be able to take. Maybe to start a talk, because maybe you know something I don't know. And I would love to find out more things that I may have missed. So let's start a conversation. So please comment. There's more information in the description. And please know that I'm doing this for us to continue this. Like always, see you soon. Bye-bye.